Well, hello, my name is Oly Backstrom, and I'm the president and CEO of SCE LifeWorks. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Charlene Paquin, the Commissioner of the Civil Service Commission. Hello, Charlene.
Hi, Oly.
I'd like to congratulate the province of Manitoba for its terrific work in partnership with SCE LifeWorks over the last number of years. Our most ambitious endeavor has been to partner with the development of the first project search site in Canada that was developed in partnership with Manitoba Hydro. That continues to be a great partnership. And this summer, we're completing our 10th year of project search at the Manitoba Hydro and Government of Manitoba site. And we couldn't be more excited to celebrate that great milestone. So you've provided dozens of high school students with developmental disabilities a chance to be fully embedded into your work environment or your environments, plural. Mm-hmm. Your coworkers and supervisors have accepted these students into their work folds and environments. The Government of Manitoba has provided a business liaison throughout the years to help navigate these work experiences and all other things that can come up. And we've been really lucky to work with a number of terrific people, including Caitlin Penner and Darlene Hedgecock. And finally, you've hired project search graduates as well. So you've embraced it as a recruitment strategy of your own. And these are permanent employees of the Government of Manitoba whose lives have been changed with the opportunities you've given. And you've given young people with developmental disabilities a chance to prove themselves. And hiring these former students you saw as good fits for your operational and your labor needs. So to mark this 10th anniversary of the Government of Manitoba's important partnership with us through Project Search, and to recognize the proactive steps that you've taken to develop a workforce that's diverse, inclusive, and well-supported, SCE LifeWorks would like to present the province of Manitoba with this Community Impact Award. Congratulations. See if we can get the
Yay.
the glare off of it so it's visible.
Thank you.
And we'll get it into your hands. So congratulations, Charlene.
Thank you very, very much. I will just say really quickly, and then we can chat some more. 10 years. I mean, that is awesome. And it is a milestone. And we were talking earlier about how, time has passed so fast, but just where this started and how it started and the fact that it's sustained for as long as it has is something I think everybody involved in this project from beginning to today should be proud of. And so we're thrilled and really grateful for the award. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. So well earned. And as I was mentioning before, and people might not know this, you've worn a number of important hats within the province of Manitoba over the years. And so through the family services side, a number of years ago, you saw when we were initially having those first conversations. So you've seen it from a few different angles. So why has it been important for the Government of Manitoba to have an inclusive workforce that includes people with disabilities?
Well, I think, the decision to participate in Project Search really arose from the awareness that people with disabilities were underrepresented in our provincial workforce. If you look at human rights legislation, for example, and trying to be in accordance with that, people with disabilities remain underrepresented in many sectors. I think the true value of an inclusive work environment arises when people are allowed to express their sincere point of view related to all topics, and the freedom to contribute and share one's perspective in respectful conversation adds to the depth and the richness of the end product, whatever that is, whether it's policy, process, or just work culture. People with disabilities bring broad understandings and expertise, frankly, on everything from respectful workplace policy to guidance on accessibility for places like the legislative building, if we want to use that as an example. The lived experience that a person with a disability can bring through respectful discussions with others can really broaden and increase the understanding for all people involved. For those who don't have that lived experience, I think the arrival of colleagues who learn or think differently in some ways can really encourage each of us to re-examine current processes to be part of a more inclusive environment. So truly, for us in the Government of Manitoba, when we look at, excuse me, diversity and inclusion, that doesn't happen without a diverse and inclusive workforce. And that means people who can come to work, bring their whole selves, be who they are, and bring those different perspectives to really enhance what we all do as public servants.
I love it. You've touched on this already, but what kind of impact has involvement in Project Search had on the work culture within the Government of Manitoba?
Yeah, and it's a great question because I think, with any new program, there's always an adjustment period. And you and I talked earlier about, this having started as a pilot project and building off of, what was happening in the US. And so it takes time, I think, to get accustomed to the new processes, expectations, both for the people who are already in the system and those who are coming in as participants in Project Search. So I think that was very much true for this project. The idea of a skills trainer attending an interview with a potential candidate was a new and unique idea. Additionally, creating a job for someone was unique to our hiring practices when this all started. And I think it's been a phenomenal learning experience and something that's really enriched how we now do that. Through the decade-long partnership with Project Search, we've really begun to see additional supports and changes to our hiring practices. So one example occurred when the manager of the legislative grounds met a Project Search student. Instead of following regular practices by asking pre-formatted questions, this manager, who was really being quite innovative, tested the candidate's skills and knowledge by introducing them to tools and machines used to groom the grounds. And through this process, the manager successfully found candidates who had working knowledge of equipment used to perform daily tasks. This approach verified the candidate had demonstrated the working experience using the equipment. And while such an approach may be seen as innovative for government environments, perhaps it shouldn't be when we recognize the importance of individual strengths, skills, and the need to bring those to the forefront for persons with disabilities. So the Government of Manitoba is really proud to partner with SCE LifeWorks and to continue to advance our employment practices to become an equitable and inclusive employer. And I'll add as well that, for me personally, I'm also the accessibility champion for the Government of Manitoba. And so continuing to see how we can not just change our hiring practices, but make them more accessible, find ways to create accessibility within our systems, within our physical space, within our policies for people, that again also becomes part of that inclusion. That also becomes part of the work culture. And it becomes just part of the day-to-day operations, which is really what we're trying to accomplish.
That sounds great. And I love your example where, we're often working with students who, for whom a traditional interview where, an interview is supposed to be talking about, what they bring to the workforce, and some job seekers are not great about talking about what they have to bring, but they're very good at showing you what they have to bring to the workforce. And so your example, and Project Search in general, is a great example where they basically, the students have 3 work rotations to demonstrate their abilities and what kind of value they can bring. And so, I think it's terrific. I also remember when we first started, there's the idea of embracing the concept of Project Search and seeing it as a good idea. But then when the rubber hits the road, the question was still big. So what are students going to be doing?
Yeah.
And part of the last 10 years has been a journey for SCE LifeWorks and the Government of Manitoba to see, well, where could students fit? And our growing understanding of, what actually happens in different departments has helped determine who could be potential good fits. And with your navigational support and the navigational support of our great business liaisons to further develop our understanding of actually what has to happen, what your labor needs are, and where the good fits could be, has been a part of why I've loved Project Search too. So thanks so much, Charlene. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think just building on that, I think again, 10 years, and it's such a great example, I think, of exactly what you said, which is starting something new and conceptually people going, yeah, this is great. And then going, but how's it really going to work? And I think we're all challenged, in our organizations, because it's traditional to want to have all the answers to all the questions before we start. And I think sometimes we have to start and we have to try and we have to learn as we go and iterate and reiterate. And I think this is a really nice example and a successful example of how we can build something that actually has an impact, both for the participants themselves, but like you asked about the work culture, the way that we change how we look at things. And for us in the Civil Service Commission and government as a whole, diversity and inclusion remain high priorities. And so continuing to look at how we do things differently and how we have a properly represented workforce, how we look at exactly what you said. Well, we have a very traditional approach to hiring, but that doesn't work for everybody. And that's not just for people with disabilities. So when we look at diversity, it's geographic, it's educational, it's cultural, it's based on ability. And so how do we get the best people in based on what they can do, not based on how they answer the questions we ask? So trying to figure those things out is it's a long-term approach, but we can use things like Project Search, I think, as a touchstone for how that's worked in a certain area. And maybe we can build off of that and build off those successes. And, here's to another 10 years.
I love it. Thanks
right?
so much, Charlene. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
thanks so much.
Having a chance to bring the award in person sometime.
Yes, yes. Hopefully soon.
Okay.
Cross your fingers. Yeah. Right. It was wonderful to see you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful to see you too. Take care.
Take care. Okay. Bye-bye.